Hello, here's the September MM2H video, and this time there have been some developments, although we're still trying to figure out whether they're good or bad. I think the basic consensus is that they're on the bad side. The government has come out and announced the new version of MM2H, which will come into effect in October this year. They've increased the minimum income requirement fourfold to 40,000 ringgit a month, and they're requiring a fixed deposit of 1 million ringgit. They've also increased the minimum age to 35 from 21, and they are reducing the length of the visa from 10 years to 5 years. Basically, not good decisions in our opinion. Certainly not if you're hoping to get more people to join the program, more high net worth people, and apparently expect it to contribute to the national recovery plan, because of course the economy here has been badly damaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. What was more concerning than just the changes in the rules was the announcement that they would apply to all the existing visa holders. This caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of outcry from people and organizations saying this was grossly unfair. For one thing, the government has consistently said that any change in the rules will not apply to existing visa holders. So clearly this would be a broken promise which doesn't reflect very well on Malaysia. Another concern is, of course, that all the people who don't qualify would have to leave Malaysia, which means a lot of money exiting the economy, a lot of real estate being put up for sale, and that's certainly not good for Malaysia. So we did a survey and went out to visa holders and prospects and said, can you comply with the new regulations? And perhaps not surprisingly, the results for both groups were very, very similar. Roughly 98% of current visa holders who responded to our survey, and there were about 900 of them who filled in the questionnaire, said they were not able, or if they were able, they were not willing to meet the new terms. Only about 20% of each group met the income requirement, and about 2/3 of the ones who met the income requirement also had enough money to put on fixed deposit, but most of them were not willing to put 1 million ringgit on a fixed deposit in Malaysia. And the reasons are fairly obvious. The currency has been depreciating for quite some time, and the interest rates are very, very low. So basically, the new rules mean that all existing visa holders would leave the country, at least 98% by our calculation. There was a big outcry about that, and as a result, the Minister of Home Affairs came out and said, well, don't worry, don't be anxious, we're not going to ask everyone to leave, but didn't exactly explain what the new criteria would be to decide if people come or go. In fact, one newspaper reported it as treating each one on a case-by-case basis, which is obviously very unsatisfactory. The minister also made an observation that 7,000 odd visa holders never even moved to Malaysia. Well, we knew that. That's not a surprise. We've talked about that for many, many years. But it does demonstrate that the government is still really not understanding what the program is and appears not to be seeking the advice of the various experts who are present in this country. And I like to think that I'm one of them. So the whole thing is in a state of flux. But even going forward, we had 500 prospects respond to our survey. They were all our regular readers, so they know what the requirements were. They fully anticipated they could meet them. A lot of them actually live in Malaysia, but when we explained to them the new requirements, 97.5% said that's not going to work for us. So clearly, if only 2 or 3% of current prospects who seriously thought about taking up the visa are going to join their program, then there's going to be a very small contribution, even if they are very, very wealthy people. So the country will have to go elsewhere to find high net worth people. And as many people have said, if you really have this much money at your disposal that you happily put $1 million ringgit down on an asset that's going to decline in value, that you're going to meet the income requirement of $9,500 US, why would you choose Malaysia? One of the big things about coming to Malaysia is the value for money proposition, which is very strong. And you don't need 40,000 ringgit a month to live in Malaysia. In fact, most Malaysians live well below that figure. So the thing's in a bit of a confusion. I hope we'll get some clarification, and we will keep you advised. And if you get my newsletter, you'll see what I have to say on that. Let me also briefly talk about home quarantine. You can quarantine at home if you are fully vaccinated, but you have to seek approval before coming here. You should put in your request 7 days at least before your return, and I would advise longer because apparently they don't respond that quickly. You need to send an email to hso.moh, the Ministry of Health.gov.my. And they will then send you a form and decide if your premises, your home, is suitable for you to live in isolation. And once they give approval, then you at least avoid the expensive hotel stays. Also, let me briefly touch on My Travel Pass. As I think most of you know, you need to get approval to return to Malaysia using My Travel Pass if you have the MM2H visa. We've told people that if you are fully vaccinated, you'll almost certainly get back into Malaysia, even from the 23 banned countries. But apparently not everyone is getting approval, even though they're fully vaccinated. And when we asked immigration to clarify the situation, they declined to respond to our request, which is not uncommon. So it's a little hard for us to know what's happening on that score. We also advised one lady that she should get approval before she leaves using the same app, My Travel Pass, to get exit and return approval so she knows she can get back. And she duly put in for it, but was declined even though she was fully vaccinated. And even though she wanted to go overseas for medical treatment. So clearly, either they're tightening up or the information we had before about letting people back in and out if they were fully vaccinated was not accurate. Now, one reason may be the pretty serious COVID-19 situation in Malaysia. Bloomberg does a ranking of the worst places to be in the world for COVID, and they pick 53 economies based on size or whatever. Anyway, the larger economies of the world, and Malaysia came out bottom of the list. So we've been under quarantine in the Klang Valley for quarantine. We've been under lockdown in the Klang Valley for 3 months, over 3 months, and the cases are still high. There are still 200 or 300 people dying every day from COVID. And although in recent days, apparently there's been a small improvement, the situation is definitely not good here in Malaysia. Vaccinations have gone pretty well. So the majority of the adult population in the country is now fully vaccinated. And apparently in the Klang Valley, it's above 80%, which in theory means herd immunity, which in theory means we should be much more relaxed in what we can do. But although there have been a few relaxations in the last few weeks, last couple of weeks, a few more shops allowed to open, we're still essentially in lockdown. Our office has not had permission to open for 3 months, although they recently gave us approval for our MM2H business to continue. So this news from Malaysia is not particularly good. We have a new government that's just been sworn in, although it looks very similar to the last government, which was run by the Prime Minister, who became very unpopular, Udin, and he decided to resign. So we have to see what's going to happen in the next few weeks and months, and we will certainly, as I say, keep you advised on that. A quick word about the Sarawak Program. We are in the process of tying up with an agency there so that we can assist people who want to get Sarawak visa, and they've left their terms and conditions as they were. So they're vastly different from the ones that planned for West Malaysia. And if you have the Sarawak visa, you are allowed to live in West Malaysia as long as you spend 15 days a year in Sarawak. So it is an option, although whether or not they'll continue to let you live here with that visa is, of course, a question mark. But we'll give you more news about the Sarawak Program once we've got our partnership deal signed up. And as I said, it is an option for people who want to live here, or in fact live in Sarawak, which is a very pleasant state to live in. So that's all from me this month. I'll be back this time next month, maybe sooner if I got more news for you. And stay safe. See you then. Bye.